This is 12 News Now. I'm Ray Baccari. Today I'm joined by Mike Cadenazzi, who is an Assistant Secretary of Defense for Industrial Base Policy. Now, Mr. Cadenazzi was nominated earlier this year for the position by President Donald Trump, and he was then later confirmed in the year by the U.S. Senate. There are multiple Assistant Secretaries of Defense that focus on different areas of policy under the Department of Defense. Mike, it's good to have you here.
Great to meet you, Ray. Thank you very much.
And thank you for giving us your time for this. So just for those watching, can you explain what exactly an Assistant Secretary of Defense does?
So Assistant Secretaries of War generally have a portfolio that's associated with some aspect of the department's mission. In my case, industrial-based policy. That is, we reflect a broad series of requirements to go ahead and help the industrial base achieve its ends for the department. So making the weapons that our soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marines, and Guardians require, and then also to deliver the services required as well. So our work spans everything from monitoring M&A transactions to small businesses, direct investments into the industrial base, and partnership with our allies and partners.
Now, how important is a role that such as yours for, say, a state like Rhode Island? You know, I think of like supply chains and just other crucial elements that are important for our country's defense and just how it functions.
Absolutely. There are multiple companies that have major defense presences in Rhode Island. They've been there for a long time. The state's always had a solid relationship with the military. Military bases in Newport, bases in Quonset historically. There's been a long pipeline of activity associated with the base in Newport with Newark and the Undersea Warfare Center, their work on submarines, which is reflected in a lot of the company activity that's in the state. There's a ton of talent there and interest in growing the defense business there and expanding the number and the mix of programs and products that we support in the state.
And while also thinking about supply chains and the importance of a role that yours has, sometimes I think about things like the chip shortage and I'm curious, how would a position like yours address something like that?
That's a great question, Ray. One of the things we do get to do is look at challenging topics that are, supply chain bottlenecks or gaps, issues, challenges with workforce, problems with sole sourcing on companies going out of business sometimes, and we get to work on it. So the chips issue is one that's a major priority for us. We spend time looking at our partners to find and understand where we can go ahead and secure additional capacity. What are the type and mix of chips that the department needs? What do its contractors need? And then we get to go ahead and spend time talking to companies directly on the investments that would make it better for them to go ahead, or easier for them to go ahead and produce the chips that the department requires. It's an exciting opportunity for us to directly engage and actively work to solve problems, which is really terrific.
And another emerging topic that I could imagine has got you all busy over there at the Pentagon is artificial intelligence. What kind of role is that going to play when it comes to your job and just what you guys are trying to accomplish?
We've rolled out AI within the Department of War. The Pentagon's got a series of new initiatives and partnerships that actually are bringing AI capabilities directly to every desk in the Pentagon. You can go to your computer and you can look up, there's a GPT tool set. So just like you can do on the internet, you can type into your computer a bunch of questions and have direct access to capabilities there, which is quite powerful. Our team, my particular team, is actively employing Gen AI tools every single day to streamline and enhance the productivity of their work. It's a powerful tool set, and I think we're only at the beginning for how the department's going to go ahead and apply that for the future.
And I should ask, there was a little bit of a situation with the defense bill that was passed through the House and Senate recently, and there was a situation with AI language where it was, like, I believe removed or proposed where there would be no regulations on AI by the government. From your guys' end, what does that mean?
Hi, Ray. That's not in my portfolio, and that's not something I can comment thoughtfully on. I'd have to defer to the Office of Legislative Affairs and the Secretariat leaders to go ahead and comment more thoughtfully on that.
Understand. Shifting from policy and speaking of Rhode Island still, and somebody watching may be thinking, how did WPRI, a news station in Rhode Island, get an Assistant Secretary of Defense on here for an interview? You come from Rhode Island, and I've been tracking your nomination and when you did the hearing in the Senate for your nomination. So tell those watching a little bit about your ties to Rhode Island and, did it play into what you do now for a living?
Absolutely. Well, first, I'm on here because you're persistent, Ray, so thank you very much. I appreciate your sustained interest. No, I'm thrilled to be connected and talking to you about this. I am a proud son of Rhode Island. I was born in Newport. I went to Rogers High School in Newport, also went to other schools in the city. I love the state. I wound up sort of pursuing this job because I have a long-term enduring passion for the industrial base and for the military in general. My dad was in the Navy. I spent 10 years in the Navy, mostly stationed overseas. And I really wanted the chance to serve again in this challenging time. We've all read and seen reports regarding the industrial base and some of the challenges there. And I thought I might be able to come into office and help. And luckily, the Trump administration and the Senate were kind enough to go ahead and indulge me in that desire and help me along through the process. And I'm honored to be here working in the Pentagon every day with the hundreds of people that make up the industrial base as we reach out to the tens of thousands of companies and millions of workers that are every day working on challenging topics to deliver the capabilities we need.
How did your nomination come to be?
Luck, more than anything else. I think I threw my resume over the transom to some people I knew that were associated with the administration and the transition team. And one of them read it and said, "You've got a pretty good resume." And I think we did a series of discussions and my thoughts about how we might be able to help, do some things differently, actually have some impact. And that resonated with the team, given their desire to go fast, to do really impactful things and make a difference. And that's what I want to do. And again, I'm honored and thrilled that the administration and the Senate were supportive of my desire and passed me through to the role where I am today.
Have you ever met President Trump yet, or Secretary Hegseth?
I have not met President Trump. I've had one meeting with Mr. Hegseth, and it was a terrific opportunity. We had a great discussion about some very practical things in the supply chain, which was great.
What was your impression of how he's leading the department? What was that? A little bit more about that interaction.
Sure. So we were talking about a specific issue in the supply chain, which I can't get into, and it was great. He was very deeply interested in the problem set. I think you've seen the passion, most recently in the speech he did this weekend at Reagan National Defense Forum for the department, its mission, and primarily for the active duty service members and the government civilians that do the work every day and the folks that he leads. It's a challenging job, and I'm thrilled to be a part of his team.
What surprised you so far about the role that you're in?
It's very demanding. I knew it was going to be a lot. There are a lot of things that the department is touching. The scale of the industrial base, when you start to step back and think about it, spans everything from strategic systems in the nuclear enterprise to partnering with our Department of Energy colleagues, to space, to underwater, to AI, as you mentioned before, technology, and then all the sort of metal bending things that we do to go ahead and make weapons and planes and ships and tanks and bombs. And so you get to touch all those things. It's great to touch them in order. When all of them need attention at one time, it gets to be very challenging. And so that's kind of where we are in this process, is we're still racking and stacking all the priorities. And so it's a lot of different concurrent issues, all hitting the office and the team at the same time. But again, I've got an incredibly talented mix of government civilians, active duty military, and contractors that we work with every day to address these issues. And it's been terrific.
Kind of just to get a better idea of what your day-to-day looks like, do you answer specifically to Secretary Hegseth?
No, there's a couple of layers between me and him. I actually report to Undersecretary of War Mike Duffy, who's for the Undersecretary for Acquisition and Sustainment. He reports to Deputy Secretary of War Feinberg, and then Deputy Secretary of War Feinberg reports directly to Secretary Hegseth.
And then do you lead a team of other people that are under you within this department?
Yes, there's 4 directorates under industrial base policy, which incorporates a couple hundred people, government, civilians, active duty, military, and contractors that do the work that we do.
What would you say are the biggest challenges currently facing the country when it comes to industrial base policies?
That's a great question, Ray. There's an enormous list of challenges. I think you go to the GAO website, type in challenges in the defense industrial base, and you'll find a compelling set of things. The Congress does a great job. There are other agencies that track it. Minerals, access to castings and forgings, the chips, microelectronics that you mentioned are particularly challenging. We have issues associated with primary chemicals that go into weapons platforms. One of the things I'm most passionate about, and we have an incredible team working on, is workforce issues. And so we're really excited to support it and developed workforce initiatives all over the country, from Hawaii to Rhode Island, and even overseas we're talking to folks. And our goal is to go ahead and help identify and build the next generation of workforce for different programs and product areas. And it's a really exciting initiative for us.
Now, we had saw during the COVID-19 pandemic, things like supply chain issues really show and really affect day-to-day life. How does, moving forward, something like that not happen again?
Well, I think the COVID issue was one that highlighted much supply chain fragility. So just-in-time manufacturing, outsourcing, and so what we need to do is reverse some of those trends probably over time, which is a less just-in-time supply chain that includes more resilience, supply chain that includes more onshoring in the U.S. So domestic manufacturing that allows us to go ahead and fulfill our requirements domestically or with partners. The fragility of the supply chain was exposed, and there's been, since that time, multiple bipartisan initiatives to work and improve the overall resilience of the supply chain across all these areas. And for me, that's incredibly exciting because the work our team is doing every day allows us to improve that overall stability. And it's very rewarding to see some of the changes that are happening right now.
During your hearing earlier this year in front of the Senate's Armed Services Committee, you had mentioned you would perform under these three principles: prioritization, productivity, and production. Why those three specifically?
So I wanted some of those memorable for me so I could go and talk to it thoughtfully. I think it was the first thing, but I also wanted something that would resonate across the major priorities for the Senate and for the leadership, as I'd talked to many of them beforehand. Those are three really important things. One is there's a lot of problems, and so how do you get to the things that you can have impact on today? That's always a challenge. I really wanted to go ahead and select a couple big places where we could actually drive change. On the productivity side, there's a general problem with regards to industry that we're not producing fast enough. And so the idea that we could go ahead and invest in things that would improve the overall pace of production is incredibly important. Some of these enablers in the supply chain are critical. And then the production piece is really with the outcomes, which is all that's great and fine, but if you're not actually driving up the volume and the ability to get the capabilities to the warfighter, then you're not meeting the target. And for me, that's the crux of this, is the things that would allow us to meet the needs of the warfighter every single day. That's where we're focusing relentlessly.
Now, it took a little bit for you to get confirmed. I believe the vote happened in September for you to be confirmed, and then we had that historic government shutdown, so that probably slowed things down. But since you've got in, if you can give me like one or two things that you could point to that you're proud of so far being in this role.
Absolutely. So we have a huge team, and we are touching a lot of different elements of it. So we've done a reorg, and we've gone ahead and realigned the teams and invested in some capacity. So we're hiring more people into industrial-based policy to meet all the requirements backed by the Senate, which is fantastic. We have a very robust series of investments we've also made in the supply chain already, just in the past couple months. And I'm really excited to be touching and working with our supply chain partners in industry every single day. And so the ability to pick up the phone, call a company, and solve a problem, as we had recently with a plant that shut down, and we were able to go ahead and meet warfighter needs by securing alternatives to the material, working out a deal with a couple of companies, and then supporting the transition through with our Army partners in this particular case was really terrific. And so for me, that's the most rewarding thing, is the ability to actually get stuff done, solve problems, and allow the services to get back to what they should do, which is to focus on warfighting.
I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up, because when I think about supply chains, getting goods effectively done or not done, pushed throughout the country, and you're focusing on working within our defense partners. You mentioned Quonset. I think about tariffs. I know that's been a big priority of this presidential administration, and this may be above your pay grade, but if you're able to speak to it, are the tariffs having any impact on the work that you're doing?
I can't speak to it. It is above my pay grade. We're not specifically tasked to track the impact of tariffs. I mean, obviously, you can look at the news and hear some of the debate about general impacts of tariffs on industry, but I'm not in a position to comment, sort of in detail on that.
Has it affected your work in any way?
Day to day, no, it's not affecting my work. Our responsibilities remain for what they are. Our job's to improve the industrial base regardless of the situation and the other decisions that other agencies or the Congress might be making. This is the world we live in. We're going to go ahead and do our best to go ahead and make it better.
I have a question that steers away from your specific job, and this is a little bit of a fun one because
Sure.
you are a Rhode Island native, so I want to ask you this so you don't forget your roots. In your opinion, what do you think this state's known for? Because we have a lot of specific things that only Rhode Islanders will know.
Yes, I first of all, watching Gilded Age recently was really fun. I got to go ahead and check out a lot of places that I've spent a lot of time biking past and walking through, which is really exciting. And so I think Newport is an iconic location, and thankfully I had the chance to grow up in one of the most beautiful places on earth. I'm thankful for it every single day. A lot of friends and family there still. And so that really is incredible. Coming over the Newport Bridge, seeing the sailboats in the summer is one of the most iconic American images. I absolutely love that. And to me, that will always be at the heart of my Rhode Island thoughts.
Now, real quickly, how long were you in Rhode Island for before you had moved out?
So I lived there at various times when I was a kid up to when I was 18. So probably 8 years or 9 years out of before I was 18. The rest of it, we were away. My father's in the Navy, so we moved around a lot.
Well, if you're ever back in town, we'd love to have you in person. And Mike, I appreciate you giving us your time for this.
Thank you so much, Ray. Great to meet you.
Likewise, and thank you for tuning into this interview with Mr. Cadenazzi. We have more content like this available on both WPRI.com and our 12 Plus Smart TV app. For now, Ray Baccari, 12 News.